Good afternoon. I'm Muriel Bowser. We are here in beautiful downtown Washington, D.C. at the Metro Center. I am joined today by Randy Clarke, the General Manager and CEO of the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, Chief Robert Conti, our Chief of Police for MPD, and Chief Michael Anzalo, the Chief of Police for the Metro Transit Police Department. And before we get started today, I would like to ask you to join me in a moment of silence in memory of Robert Cunningham. Mr. Cunningham was the heroic Metro employee who lost his life last week intervening to save a fellow human and a woman on our Metro transit system in the tragic Potomac Avenue shooting. I also want to acknowledge the heroic and extraordinary brave acts of other passengers who helped disarm this gunman. We know that a D.C. government employee, Shantae Trumpet, was among those heroes, and she was the person able to get the gun away from the shooter. We as a community are so grateful for Ms. Trumpet's courage as well. We also know that no one in our city or region should be in a position where they need to wrestle a gun away from anyone while they're just going about their day. I have been steadfast in my commitment to getting the MPD the resources they need to have a strong presence in our community. And as I prepare our next budget, I will continue to ensure that MPD has what it needs to protect our city. We are here together today to talk about a partnership between MPD and WMATA. And that partnership will allow MPD to partner with WMATA to provide additional officers at our Metro rail stations in Washington, D.C. And Randy and the chiefs will talk in more details about the stations that we will be able to help support and always the attention that we have in our areas around the city. MPD will work with the WMATA to have more officers from the MPD deployed in the morning and during afternoon and evening commutes. And it is our strong hope that regional jurisdictions will also participate to increase safety throughout the system. This partnership emphasizes our shared commitment to public safety in D.C. We know that police cannot solve all of our nation's issues with guns. I was pleased, and I hope you were too, to hear the president talk last night about protecting Americans from gun violence. I also want to emphasize that we will continue, and we do continue to have full faith in Metro as a safe and reliable transit option that is used by riders each and every day. And we look forward to our riders being able, of course, to see our great law enforcement officers in and around our stations in D.C. and we hope throughout the region. So with that, I want to turn to Randy Clarke, Metro's General Manager.
Good afternoon, everyone. As the mayor said, it's Randy Clarke, the Metro General Manager. I want to start off and just reiterate my personal thanks and the thanks of the entire organization to the mayor for your steadfast leadership, working on the issue of public safety here in the district and being such a fantastic partner. I mean that sincerely. We've been having conversations related to this topic since I've actually got here. I'm impressed by how much the mayor is leaning into this topic, and I appreciate her support being with me here today. Today, we have both chiefs, and we have a lot of command staff with us today from both Transit Police and Metro Police Department. I want to reiterate my personal thanks again to Metro Police Department for their great partnership and work during a very tragic and horrific time for our community, but especially for Metro last week. And Chief, thank you for your kind remarks on quite frankly, Mr. Cunningham's, his heroics. One of our other employees did a heroic effort, and as the mayor mentioned, community members stepped up and dealt with what could have been a much worse situation. These random acts are happening all over America, and as the mayor mentioned, the president did mention that last night. And one of the things the president really called on is for people to do something. And while obviously Metro and even the city can't be out there solving everything to do with gun violence in America, we are doing stuff. And we've increased police patrols about 25 to 30% over the last few months. We're working on our camera program, and we've hired mental health crisis specialists or intervention officers. So we're really looking at this from a compassion, a camera, and a cops point of view. The 3 C's is how we're looking at it at Metro. Today's announcement of a partnership is going to really allow us to do even more of that. It's going to allow transit police under Chief Anzalo's leadership to have more officers directly on trains and buses. So while we're at a lot of platforms, we have 1,600 buses, hundreds of rail cars throughout the day. It's basically impossible to have an officer, as everyone knows, on every bus, every train, every station platform. This will give us extra visible presence by our partner, so we can actually get even closer to our customers where they need to see us on the vehicles themselves. We believe this could actually get us up to about 60% increase in patrols on vehicles themselves. We, as the mayor mentioned, we are also in communication with many of our other partners throughout the region, and we anticipate other partnership memorandums of understanding or memorandums of agreement in the days and weeks ahead, and we look forward to their partnership. Again, I want to reiterate what the mayor said. We do believe Metro is safe. I personally just came up the escalator. I'll be going back down on the train later today. I'm on the system every day. That does not mean that we believe that our work is not done. Every day we wake up knowing it is our job to do everything humanly possible to make the system safe. And I'm proud, and I want to thank the 12,000 Metro employees on a daily basis come to work and provide safe service for our community that really needs it as we recover out of the pandemic. So with that, Mayor, I think we'll do some questions on that. Yeah, thank you.
Questions? If you could just introduce yourself, please. Microphone's coming.
It's Dick Iuliano from WTOP. Mr. Clarke, can you better define the regional support you're looking for, without giving away your negotiations or whatever?
Yeah, I think, and again, this is why I appreciate the mayor's leadership. Every police department in our region, quite frankly, the country, is struggling with staffing. Right? It's very difficult occupation to be a police officer in 2023 in America right now, and most all departments are struggling with staffing. What we are doing is we're having really good collaborative conversations with other partners in the region that have police forces and trying to see if they have availability into doing similar as MPD is doing, which is helping us with additional patrols on overtime, so it will allow our officers to do even more targeted patrols on buses and trains or platforms or busways, those types of things. Well, look, we will take all the help and partnership we can in this region. I think the mayor said it right. We are one partnership. We're stronger together.
Can I ask just about logistics about cost? Metro will be paying this is like a detail for the MPD officers, correct? So they're working off duty, but in uniform. I see Chief Conti shaking his head in the affirmative.
That's correct.
And Metro will pay them. Can you tell us how much money you have budgeted for this, and how many hours you expect to see?
Well, in a lot of so I don't have a specific on budget right now. What we're doing is working collaboratively with our partner at MPD and others. So this is in a lot of ways supplemental. So if Metro had an extra 100 police officers, then we probably wouldn't need the additional support. But right now we don't have a full complement of officers, just like MPD and others don't. So it is like that. It's an overtime detail, and I'm happy to have the chief or our chief give more specifics on it.
Chief, could I also just throw into the mix, we saw you had an officer who was arrested for abusing this system, charged allegedly with abusing this system. So how does this work at MPD, and how do you avoid any problems with this program?
Yeah, I think the easiest template that we already have in place is what you see on the streetcar. We have police officers on overtime who ride on the streetcar and have been doing so for the last couple of years. In this space, these officers would sign up. It's a voluntary detail, so we're not taking officers from communities and redistributing them to metro stations. These officers who are able to voluntarily sign up for this. Obviously, we want to make sure that there's adequate supervision, and we'll be working that end of it with our partners over at Metro to make sure that people who are signed up to work overtime are not on the clock for the Metropolitan Police Department. Obviously, we don't want to have that. Our off-duty employment has been operational for many years, and occasionally you find people who are in violation. In this case, the one that you're referencing, that was discovered through an investigation that MPD led, and obviously we have the outcome, or at least the arrest that happened with respect to that case.
And can someone talk just about why these 6 stations that are listed in the press release were chosen? Why these stations?
Yeah, I'll defer to Metro on that. We're in a supportive role, but I would tell you with any police deployment, it really has to do with data, and I'm sure that's the reason behind it. So whether it's the GM or the chief.
Hey, good afternoon. Yeah, those stations were chosen. Those are the stations that we have the most crime and complaints at, and disorder problems. So that's why we chose those stations.
And what kind of crimes will these officers be? Will they be enforcing fare compliance at the stations, or
Well,
are they
the
just?
way this works is Metro, we enforce the laws that are made by the jurisdictions. So the Metropolitan Police Department, the Metro Transit Police Department, the laws that are enforced in the District of Columbia are the laws that we enforce.
Yes. Raphael with WSA9. Can we also address why June is the cutoff point for this?
Yeah, that's the end of our fiscal year, and we'll reevaluate it after that.
Yes.
Beatrice Peterson, ABC News. Do you have a number of the exact number of officers you're anticipating on using for this program?
Yeah, so what we've asked the Metropolitan Police Department to do is the morning and evening rush. We would like to fill each location with 2 officers and a supervisor during those hours. And it's Monday through Friday from 6 to 10, and then in the evening from 3 to 7 is what we're looking at. And it can extend a little bit later. It just depends on, Chief Contee's been real good, and the mayor and Mr. Clarke about, we have to be flexible with this because we do know that crime patterns tend to shift. So that flexibility is built into what we're trying to do. So we have to be sort of smart about it. It's not a cookie cutter approach. And crime patterns move too. So the stations that we described, if we start seeing some success, but there may be incidents of crime at other stations or we see an uptick, then obviously we're going to shift resources and try to address it that way.
I just wanted to ask, first off, to confirm with Randy, when you say other jurisdictions, are you in talks with both Virginia and Maryland? And then also just wanted to ask the logistics of this. Will it be 2 MPD at these stations, 1 MPD, 1 MTPD? And will it, kind of as you said, free up MTPD to say, hey, we got a problem on this bus route, we'll go here while MPD does this station? How will that work?
Yeah, Tom. So yes, all jurisdictions in our service area, we obviously serve the district, we serve parts of Virginia and parts of Maryland. So again, great collaborative conversations, but I want to reiterate, all these departments, just like MPD, are struggling for resources as well. So we're looking for the best partnership we can. I believe the way the chief mentioned it, working with MPD, is try to have 2 officers per targeted patrol. That doesn't mean that we won't have officers at those stations as well. Like take LaFont or Gallery or Metro. I think it's almost 70% of all of our trips somehow touch one of those 3 stations on a daily basis. They're gigantic stations. They're, arguably LaFont or Metro is like 2 city blocks underground. So, in multiple levels. So we might have some of our officers on random patrol. We also have officers coming off trains that might cycle through and go to another line, see some of their officers. But the real purpose of this is how do we get our officers even closer to our customers and our riders so they can be on buses, be on trains. We just do not have enough uniform presence, and a lot of this, as the mayor said, is to bring visibility and show we are together, one big partnership, all working together for a safer community.
Chief Anzello, I know that staffing levels are lower for Metro Transit Police, obviously, than you would like. Can you also walk through just some of the logistics from your perspective of surveying and patrolling and just trying to be everywhere in a system that takes people everywhere? Can you just walk through some of the toughest challenges, especially given the staffing levels that you all have?
Well, I mean, the toughest challenge is, it's a huge system. I mean, it transverses, 3 states, 3 jurisdictions, Maryland, DC, and Virginia. And I think sometimes folks lose sight of that we have a huge bus system as well. So, the more we can get out on rail cars and platforms and buses and parking lots, and that helps us out with our crime as far as trying to reduce it.
Just really quickly, maybe this is for Chief Conti. Are there any just jurisdictional complexities that kind of contribute to all of this? I mean, I know like MPD would investigate a homicide that would happen in the district, but not necessarily in, obviously in Maryland or Virginia. Can you just walk through, does an MPD officer have arresting power on a metro train, I guess is the simplest, most logical question.
Yeah, so they will certainly take, Metro Transit Police will certainly be the primary for issues that occur on trains, on buses, that kind of thing. Certainly we have jurisdiction with respect to homicides, and that does not change. That piece does not change. So, we work collaboratively with Metro Transit Police and here, so none of those things change. What is changing is now Metro Transit or the WMATA system will pick up the tab essentially for the presence of metropolitan police officers being at the metro stations, and that is a change from the past. In the past, normally Metro Transit police officers just had that responsibility. So this is a step up from that, but the partnership has always been there. The collaboration has always been strong with our partners over at WMATA. Oh, and with respect to policing power, I mean, our police officers, they're responsible for Washington, D.C. So anything that happens in Washington, D.C., if there's a robbery that occurs and it's in the presence of one of our officers or one of our officers are there, they can certainly investigate that, arrest, have the power of arrest, no issues there. We can do everything that we would normally do in Washington, D.C. And again, I think, from the leadership of Metro Transit, police in that space, we don't want police officers, our DC police officers, on a train that goes into Virginia or Maryland. That would then create a jurisdictional issue. So that's why they'll stay either on the platform below or on the top at the station.
Thank you. Emily Davies with the Washington Post. I am wondering, we started this press conference with a moment of silence talking about Potomac Avenue. My understanding is that that station is not one of the 6 included. Can you talk about why not, and to residents who are especially concerned now about traveling through that station?
I think your question was why is this particular patrol not at Potomac Ave? Yeah, so I want to reiterate, we have a lot of law enforcement at Metro Transit Police that are out all day, all night long. This is supplemental because we just don't believe right at the moment we have enough officers to cover the whole system. So I believe we have an officer right now on full, not 24, but opening to close on detail at Potomac Ave Station right now. That's Metro Transit Police. Again, we'll have officers at some of the stations MPD will be helping with, and it just allows us to be more places. And so Potomac Ave is a great example where we want to have a good police presence there. Fort Taunton's a good example where a lot of people are looking for police presence. There's a lot of other stations as well that our officers are there all the time.
To follow up on that, you said earlier that you're understaffed in terms of police. Can you talk about just how much and where you are numerically?
Yeah, well, we obviously, Chief, how many vacancies do we have at the moment? 79 vacancies right now, but we're also in the middle of our FY24 budget process, and this could be a conversation as part of that process as well. I mean, the reality is it just takes, as the chiefs would better articulate than me, it takes a while to have a certified police officer on the street.
Mr. Clarke, you mentioned something about there may be a mental health issue of experts in connection with Metro Police's response to potential crisis like the tragedy at the Potomac Avenue Station. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Sure, happy to. So when I got here, one of the programs I did when I was in Austin was to hire mental health crisis intervention counselors. And so a couple of the trend systems that kind of led the industry were in Austin, but in San Francisco and Portland. And so we brought that here to Metro. So under the chief's leadership, we've already have individuals out on the system, and actually the district's behavioral health team helped in the interview process, so it's a very collaborative process. We are in the process of going to be hiring even more people to be out in the system. So these are, skilled social workers, mental health crisis counselors. The idea is to bring a human element to people. There's a lot of element of society right now that's not necessarily criminal in nature, but it's people that need help And we want to run the best possible transit system, as the mayor has articulated really well. Both safety and people feeling safe and getting the services they need.
How many officers are you at right now? How many officers in your force?
387 sworn right at the moment.
Okay, well, last question.
When you're talking about starting this at 5 stations, this is obviously a WMATA expense for MPD. What is the timeline of this? How long is this going to last? And what is your message to the people at other metro stations that are not going to see this? What do you want them to know? They might be concerned for their safety.
Yeah, well, let's start with the first piece. I think the chief answered. So the period of the MOA is through the end of June. That's only because that's the end of the fiscal year. We appreciate this partnership. Obviously, MPD, as I mentioned multiple times, is tight on resources, and so that we really do truly appreciate them working with us. We're tight on resources as well, so that we need to reevaluate that. But I think the second part of your question, and I want to really reiterate this piece. This isn't to suggest where only MPD officers are. There's no officers anywhere else. We have, as we just said, almost 400 transit police officers throughout the system all day long. This is just supplemental police, and if we can get other regional partners to do that as well, it just adds more police officers to the entire metro system to allow us to be both on trains, on buses, on platforms, at busways, station entrances like this, checking in with our employees. That's what it's all about. So these 5 stations are just big, busy stations. It's led by a little bit more from a crime data point of view, but we have officers, all throughout the system, all the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.